I am Donald McIntyre, Senior Editor of the ETC Cooperative. Today we're going to talk about the ETC Grants DAO, one of the winners of Proof of Work Summit project. And for that, we have Bob Summerwill with us, Executive Director of the ETC Cooperative, to talk about that project. Hello, Bob. How are you?
Hello. I'm very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations. Today we're going to talk about the Proof of Work Summit rather than the ETC Cooperative, although the ETC Cooperative must be part of that. But congratulations for getting the grant in the first place.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you 4 questions, and the first one is, what is the Proof of Work Summit?
Okay, yeah. So Proof of Work Summit it's a novel undertaking. We've had conferences within ETC in 2017, 2018, and 2019. So that was the ETC Summit, first of them in Hong Kong, then in Korea, and then in Vancouver in 2019. But there hasn't been a conference within this ecosystem now for 4 years. I mean, you know, some of that was COVID, but a lot of it was the fact that because ETC on its own was so niche, you know, we couldn't really attract big names, sponsors, anything, and it was just basically a dead loss for the co-op. Some years it was like nearly as much as half of the funding that we had for each year was subsidizing the conference. So anyway, there hasn't been one for quite a while. But when the collaboration that we had with Bitmain started, Litecoin have a similar kind of setup with Bitmain. It's a little different. They actually have a joint venture which is called LTC Labs, which is receiving funding from Bitmain to do things within the Litecoin ecosystem. And one of the first things that they did was a Litecoin summit. Anyway, so I was at Bitmain's WDMS conference, and I said, well, hey, could you introduce me to the people at Litecoin, right? You know, we're doing parallelly similar kind of things, you know, both sort of, you know, proof of work, sort of fair launch, similar kind of projects. So I thought, you know, well, maybe there's something that we can do with them. So they introduced me to Charlie Lee and Alan Austin, who's their managing director. And one of the first things that Charlie suggested is, well, hey, maybe we could do a joint conference. And I thought, well, maybe, okay. And quickly sort of came to the conclusion, well, you know, maybe it's more than just the two of us. You know, maybe it's major proof of work chains, you know, give it even more appeal. So that's what we've been working towards for the last, well, quite a lot of months. Was really the thought that we could really use a counterpunch against lazy mainstream narratives that would paint proof of work as, you know, an obsolete technology, you know, which has no merit, is positively harmful to the planet, and, you know, if you like proof of work, you know, you're just completely obstinate, planet-hating monster. Yeah. So especially, you know, with the Ethereum proof of stake transition, you know, that you get that kind of stuff even more. You know, well, Ethereum changed. Well, why can't you change? You know, even for Bitcoin, you know, you've got Greenpeace USA funded by a donation from Chris Larson of Ripple to attack proof of work. You know, and just this ongoing change the code. It's quite funny. Just change the code.
Yes.
Bitcoin is running on this obsolete thing, and you just change the code.
Yeah.
You know, completely missing the point there. So yeah, you know, the thought with proof of work is summit is you know, we should get together. You know, we should get together the major proof of work chains and you know, and tell the story. You know, get back to those cypherpunk fundamentals and you know, well, what happened before? Why was Bitcoin created? You know, what happened here? You know, because it was a huge, you know, revolutionary technology breakthrough, which
Yes.
gets very discounted, right? Oh yeah, that was just the beginning, right? But all that shit's gone. So yeah, so we've been collaborating on that, and
Good.
what we've been able to do with that broader collaboration is bring in, you know, significant top tier speakers, you know, get a good degree of sponsorship, so that we can have a really, you know, a really like top level conference. So, you know, Phil Zimmerman of PGP fame is going to be keynoting. Jameson Lopp, Charlie Lee, Charlie Shrem, Caitlin Long, and many more. So, you know, I'm really excited for what we're going to have. You know, I think it's going to be really very awesome. You know, I think it's sort of like the kind of, I think it's sort of like here's the conference that Bitcoiners would organize if they weren't maxis.
Yes. Yeah, because this is interesting because there were the ETC summits in 2017, 2018, 2019. Then we had COVID. Then we had this thing that when you spend in a summit is a big expenditure, and you prefer to do something, maybe a broader topic rather than exclusive ETC, so that you can get more sponsors and balance the budget of the conference. So the idea was to create the Proof of Work Summit, and it is the concept of the purpose of the conference then is to respond to the world that is attacking proof of work and saying that it's bad for the world and that it's a waste of energy and things like that. I think
that's right. Yeah, and you know, just like fundamental, you know, just fundamental, you know, philosophical, ethical, value prop, you know, the basics of saying, you know, if you look across the whole blockchain ecosystem, because of the rate of growth, you know, a huge number of people are new. You know, they weren't around in these early days. They don't know that history. They don't know, you know, how things were in those early days. You know, where, you know, you've got this world of possibility open, and it was really like, well, you know, we're gonna change the world, right? We're gonna make a difference.
Yes.
You know, not just money go up, shallow, you know, bullshit stuff. Really, you know, well, hey, we're building non-state money. I mean, that's amazing.
I think that is important because there are real threats and in the world that are advancing, especially technologically. I mean, if you combine central bank digital currencies plus artificial intelligence, machine learning, the internet, the advances in cloud computing, for example, and computing power, and all these things, then centralization is a general trend, technological centralization of the world, and that enables central government, central control, and things like that. We saw it with COVID, and I think that the only technology that addresses that and is a counterpunch to that is proof of work. And so I think that the Proof of Work Summit to be a channel to explain these things is excellent. The other thing is that to debunk the two typical, the old argument that it's a waste and that it's bad for the planet, when it's exactly the opposite. It's not a waste. It's extremely useful, and it's good for the world. It's much better than proof of stake. I actually said that Ethereum, by moving to proof of stake, is killing trees now.
Right.
So well, that's amazing. So my second question is, if you can describe the team, who are then, you spoke about the Litecoin, Charlie Lee, you, can you explain then the team who is organizing this?
Yeah, absolutely. So Emma Todd of MMH Group signed on as event coordinator for what at the start was, okay, we're probably going to do a new ETC Summit, right? We should consider that. But then, you know, that walked across into Proof of Work Summit very early. Anyway, so Emma has done conferences a number of which I've attended back to 2017 or so. MMA are also providing a good chunk of the comms team for the cooperative. So that started last November, where we have Andrew Dick as marketing manager. You have Angela, who is doing social media and translation, and then they, work with yourself. So Emma's been sort of driving on the operational side. Myself and Andrew are, frequently been involved. We've had all of this sort of trying to find a venue, building a website and ticketing, and then our partners on that, are people with similar roles on the Litecoin side. Okay. So Alan Austin is the managing director. You've got Jay on the marketing side. We've been meeting weekly really for a long time.
All right.
Something else to know just on the timing was that we were initially aiming for Prague in May to collaborate with Monero. So Monero have their conference there, and we were trying to co-locate and co-time with them, but things fell through on the venue, so we ended up a delay until later in the year. We have actually got another collaboration, which is with HCPP, which is Hacker Congress Parallel Polis. So Parallel Polis is this really unique kind of I don't know what you would call it. It's a group which came really from Czech dissidents and activists and hackers, where during the communist era in Czechoslovakia, as it was at this time, you had these people forming. So Parallel Polis is parallel society. Mm-hmm. So really this thought of saying, well, look, we're in this communist hell, and what we need to do is organize. We need to get together, these poets and dissidents and activists, and not only do we need to build this alternate society in terms of activism, but also just in terms of things like education. Well, look, we need, what are our narratives and our stories, and what do people need to know? And we've got to educate people, and we've got to, basically go, well, the existing one's broken. We need to make a new one off to the side, yes. Right? And over time, more and more gets slewed into that. And so obviously, that those kind of efforts were effective, ultimately in overthrowing communism. But then you had, an ongoing thread of those kind of people, and the fight is not over.
Yeah.
So a number of years later, you had this group which went, well, actually, we need a physical manifestation of this. We want, we need a headquarters. So Parallel Polis is an event space and a co-working space and a Bitcoin cafe, and the host for the Institute of Crypto Anarchy. Mm-hmm. So they've been having this event for the last 10 years, okay. Which has really, really interesting speakers. It is blockchain oriented, but you have a whole load of fellow travelers in these kind of areas. So it looks like a really deep philosophical. Yeah. It's not like, hey, we're going to be talking about the specifics of my DeFi project. It's like the absolute opposite of that. Yeah. So we're collaborating with them, and that happens directly after hours. So you can actually get joint ticketing for both, and we're working together because it's quite complementary. If you look at some of the list of their speakers and things that we have, there's a lot of overlap.
And is it in the same venue, both events?
They're not in the same venue, no. But we. So our event, we've got like a dinner on the Monday the 25th. The conference is on 26th and 27th. 28th is actually a national holiday. This is in September. It's so that should be you know, a lot of interesting Czech events in the city that day, and then HCPP runs the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. So,
yeah, they're not in the same venue, but you know, it's like 10-15 minutes.
Very good. So the collaboration is joint ticketing, and first goes the ETC Cooperative, and then after the holiday is the Parallel Polis conference, and the whole theme of both is very similar, no? Because there are technologies to guarantee self-sovereignty and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that you've got on HCPP is more of a privacy theme. But yeah, I mean, I think they're very complementary kind of events. Yeah, and you know, if you're going to a city, you know, you don't really want to go for just 3 days. So you know, the two of them together form pretty much a week's worth of stuff with a break day in the middle. So and I mean, Prague as a location was chosen because a lot of people don't want to go to the USA. You know, no interest in that. And you know, in Europe, you're kind of in the middle of Asia and North America, so it's something that's sort of reachable from most places. And also, you know, there's a lot of population, obviously, in Europe, and it's very travelable. And you have a lot of blockchain people, you know, in well, all other areas of Europe, but especially like Germany and Eastern Europe. There's a lot of people there. So Prague is the home of Trezor, and also of the first Bitcoin mining pool.
Okay. So for people to know if they want to attend the Proof of Work Summit, where do they have to go?
Yeah, so it's POWsummit.com.
Very good. And how much money did the Proof of Work Summit project get from the ETC Grants DAO, and what is it going to be used for? Okay,
so yes, so the application for the grants was for $20,000, which is for sponsorship of POW Summit. So, you know, even if it sort of looks like, well, is the cooperative just paying themselves and it's all just this circle jerk? Well, the grants program is a collaboration between the cooperative and Bitmain and Ampool. And, you know, the majority of the funding in there is from Bitmain and Ampool, though it's not purely them, it's this, you know, it's a collaboration. So, you know, one of the goals of the grants program was you know, community projects and you know, media and promotion and community. On the conference side itself, you know, that is a collaboration between the co-op and the Litecoin Foundation. So that's a straight 50-50 sort of deal where any losses will be 50-50 sucked up both ways, or any gains the same, you know, would be kept around for future conferences. You know, the hope is this is going to be a really successful conference, and it's going to be something that, you know, we can do year after year.
Yes.
And yeah, you know, the goal of sponsoring the conference really is to get more eyes on the grants program.
Good.
You know, and on ETC in general, obviously, as well. But really on that grant side, that, you know, going into future rounds or ongoing stuff in the grants, it would be absolutely great if we can get, you know, more groups, more people, more teams.
Yes.
To really understand, well, you know, ETC is you know, it's not dead. We're doing things.
There's definitely a lot of synergy for the ETC Grants DAO as a project to advertise in the Work Summit to bring people to build on ETC. So there's clearly a synergy.
And you know, the unique thing that you have there in ETC that you don't have in these other major proof of work chains is the smart contracts and programmability. Yeah. You know, so if you are POW ethos aligned, ETC has a unique value prop there that you simply can't do on these other chains. So yeah, it's exposure of ETC and its exposure of the grants program to to try and attract people in, or the other thing on the grants program is it was never the intention that the co-op and Bitmain were going to be the only participants. If we can get more sponsors, to be involved, more donors, that would be great. Like the more the merrier. So there's also the thought there that for the POW Summit, we're getting pretty decent amount of sponsorship from other mining companies, and they also are going to have the same aligned incentives as Bitmain have. Bitmain have led that charge of being the first into post-merge ETC. But there are many companies both making ASICs or just other mining related companies, be they pools or service providers and so on. So yeah, it's really about getting that exposure for ETC of saying, well, look, here we're having this major proof of work conference, and we're organizing it. And here we've got the ETC grants program, and look, these are the projects that are happening. And so the proof of work, that when we had the ETC summit, you weren't getting the same benefits from that because you had to be into ETC before you'd even think about it. So that isn't really something that was effective at growing the ecosystem. It was nice. It's great to get the people together and to talk about projects that are happening. But it was, here's this little group, and we're talking to each other, and maybe you get some evergreen content of videos and things out of it, but it wasn't really serving a great purpose for making things better. And I think you can have that at POW Summit. Maybe you can have that sort of stuff by sponsoring other conferences. Maybe there are other ones around, but a lot of them, are going to be Bitcoin conferences that are probably Bitcoin only, right? And you're not even going to be welcome there.
I think that yes, the ETC Summit specifically was Ethereum Classic Community Summit, which is also a very good function for that kind of event. And the Proof of Work Summit is more open and brings new people to ETC. So it's two different purposes. But economically, the ETC Summit was at a loss, and 100,000, 200,000, whatever was the money that the ETC Cooperative had to spend, you didn't recover it. And with the Proof of Work Summit, maybe you recover it all, or even a profit. We'll see what happens. So it's a different.
And yeah, I mean, in terms of deciding to sort of like pause the ETC Summit at the time, a primary thing there is like if you're paying, because I think the losses were like 120, 150k, something like that, or 180, I think, even one year. Like that's way better deployed as a grant or something to try and to build than it was for that kind of social only function. And the other thing is on Proof of Work Summit, well, if you wanted to have these two communities get together, well, come here. Like it's it's both for that broader thing, but also to get together, to see people.
I think
come on over, guys. It's happening.
I think both products have a different function, and that they both are important. But one has a cost, and the other one may even create a revenue. And in a world of scarcity, you have to allocate your funding as best as possible. Maybe in the future we can do first semester the ETC Summit and the second semester the Proof of Work Summit, and they are synergistic both. And we have both functions, no? Because the community, you have acquisition and you have retention, and both functions are very important. Okay, so the last question I think is already answered, which is what is the benefit to ETC? I think that Proof of Work Summit and the fact that ETC Grants Program is a sponsor now. You said it's $20,000.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a gold sponsor.
Yeah.
So the ETC Grants Program is promoting to potentially bring new projects to ETC. So it's clearly those are the benefits for ETC. So well, that's great, Bob. Thank you very much for the information. Congratulations for getting this money for the Proof of Work Summit. Also for the Proof of Work Summit. I mean, on the website, the like you said, some of the speakers are amazing. The lineup, and I think that you said that you have sponsors, and it's becoming like a very impactful event in a good spot. I mean, in Prague, in Europe, I think it's a very good spot.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And so people to go and see who are the speakers and to get tickets and to see where to organize their logistics to get there, they have to go to
POWsummit.com.
Good. POWsummit.com.
That's right.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you very much, Bob.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.